I haven't reviewed a racing game in like half a year. I need to race something old. Let's go obscure for a little bit. This time we got Rallycross for the PlayStation. Man, I have some serious issues. How many racing games do I have? How many are for the PlayStation? I really didn't realize this problem until I started this channel. Like, the part that really concerns me is that there are way more racing games that I want to cover, but I'm just scratching the surface of them, but I've just gone over so many of them so far. But what is interesting about this game, as the name suggests, it focuses on rally racing, which is a subgenre of racing games, but it's a racing game nonetheless. The menus. Ugh. They're so boring. They're just lists. That's all they are. There isn't even any music. It's like a beta version or a demo. It just doesn't look polished at all. And the car selection doesn't really make much sense to me either. I mean, you typically will see cars that excel in one or two attributes. It's kind of a trade-off between speed or handling or something like that. But no, there's some cars that are just trash, and there's others that are just distinctly better. Like, what's the reason to use the slower cars if there's not really a reward for doing it? It doesn't make sense to me. The actual racing is a little underwhelming. What does surprise me is the detail they put into the suspension noises. Every time you hit a bump or you go off a ramp, you hear your own suspension squeak and make noises, which, I mean, I guess that's accurate, but with the way the rest of the game plays, it doesn't really seem justified. Let me see if I can get a sound effect in here. For starters, I hardly ever notice frame rate drops in other video games, but playing my game, I was noticing it really bad in some parts of the track. I want to say it was around like 5 or 10, I don't know, I'm just throwing numbers out there, but it made me feel like the game was going in slow motion in some parts. It was really hard to play and really hard to ignore. I'm also playing this game off of a USB hard drive, and there's other parts of the course where this doesn't really happen, so I'm just going to chalk this up to being the USB drive because I don't really remember this happening with the actual disc. Another smaller issue I forgot even happened in this game when I would play it as a kid, but when I played it again, when you select automatic for your transmission, you have to manually shift it into drive and shift into reverse when you need it, which I suppose is like a real automatic instead of the game automatic where you just hit the brake and it goes into reverse, so I suppose that's more realistic, but it's not really something I expected, and it's kind of annoying to do in the game when you just want to do automatic. But hey, let's try to be positive here. There's actually a reason I wanted to play this game again, and that's because it has a pretty interesting game mode. There's normal races, there's time trials, but they also have something called head-on racing. Head-on is what you would expect. You and an opponent drive in different directions and see who can finish their laps first. It actually makes each lap really interesting because you pass the other car twice each lap, so every 20 or 30 seconds you guys cross paths and sometimes can collide, and there's other portions where you can get air, you can jump over the other car, which is fun to do, but you always know where the other car's at. It's not like where you're racing a normal race when everyone's behind you and you can't really gauge how well you're doing, but this time you can see where the other car's at. The developers really must have understood that they were going for a wacky arcade game, and in this regard I think they did pretty well. It's further exemplified with the head-on mode where you're going up against 3 other cars instead of 1, and again, it's just chaos, more so than the normal head-on mode, which just makes it even more entertaining to do. This game also even has a season mode, which can be entertaining, I suppose, but I got really bored with it really fast. So I was doing a head-on season because it's essentially a bracket-style tournament, and initially I thought it was a cool idea. It's the best 2 out of 3 races, so even when you progress in the tournament, everything happens on the same course though. So it's potentially 6 races in a row on the same track, but you're just racing in different directions. So I made it through the first 3 races. I went on to the next round. I raced the 4th race, and it was the same exact course, so it was just getting monotonous racing the same track over and over and over again. Well, I guess a 4th over, but you get the point. Overall, while the game itself isn't great, I would certainly recommend other PlayStation racing games over this in a heartbeat, but the head-on racing is just so chaotic and it's such a blast to play with someone, even multiplayer locally, of some old school manner, you know, sitting on a couch together. I think that saves this game from being a complete waste of time. Well, I placed Rallycross 9th out of 13 racing games I reviewed so far, so right now it's the 5th worst purely because it's not that great of a game, but at heart, this game does some stuff I like the head-on racing, and I've never seen another game do that, and it's something I wish more games would take a chance on, so I give it credit for that. And this was a game I played a lot as a kid, just for the destruction aspect of it. Sad to see that I don't enjoy it as much now. Hope you enjoyed the video though. Thanks for watching. I'm working on another review soon. See you then.